It was a quiet afternoon in the small town of Ashwood when the unimaginable happened. Maria Thompson had only turned away for a second, just a single second, to grab a bottle from the kitchen counter. But when she turned back, the crib was empty. Panic surged through her veins as she scanned the room, calling out her baby's name. Emily, Emily, sweetheart. Nothing. Her heart pounded as she rushed to the front door, her mind racing. Had someone broken in? Had she left the door unlocked? She sprinted outside, screaming for help. Her neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, came rushing over. Maria, what's wrong? It's Emily. She's gone. Within minutes, the entire neighborhood was out searching for the missing baby. Someone called 911, and soon, the wail of police sirens filled the air. Detective Ryan Carter arrived at the scene, his sharp eyes scanning the house. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, and no suspicious footprints near the door. Are you sure she didn't crawl away? He asked gently. Maria shook her head vehemently. She's only 6 months old. She can't even walk. Officer Jake Hernandez, one of the younger officers on duty, pointed toward the backyard. Detective, look at this. In the tall grass, there were tiny indentations, like something had been dragged. The trail led toward the thick forest behind the house. Could an animal have taken her? Maria gasped, horror-struck. We don't know yet, Carter replied. But we need to move fast. The officers, along with volunteers from the town, plunged into the dense forest. The air was thick with humidity, and the distant chirping of birds filled the silence. The search party called out Emily's name repeatedly, but there was no response. Then, Officer Hernandez heard it, faint, muffled crying. Over here, he shouted. The group sprinted in his direction, following the sound. The crying was getting louder. And then, they saw her. Emily was lying in a small clearing near a hollowed-out tree, her tiny hands reaching out toward the sky. But they weren't alone. A massive swarm of bees hovered above the infant, buzzing angrily. The officers froze. These weren't ordinary bees. They were aggressive, wild honeybees. Their black and yellow bodies glistened in the sunlight, and their constant movement created a deafening hum in the air. Maria let out a strangled cry. My baby! Stay back! Detective Carter warned, gripping his gun. We don't want to provoke them. But Emily was in danger. A few bees had already landed on her, crawling over her soft skin. If she was stung too many times, she wouldn't survive. We need a plan, Carter said. Hernandez glanced around and spotted a nearby stream. Water. If we can create smoke or douse the area, we might drive them away. Carter nodded. Maria, stay here. Hernandez, you and I will grab wet leaves and create smoke. They worked quickly, using a flashlight lens to focus sunlight onto damp leaves, generating a thick, curling smoke. The moment the smoke rose into the air, the bees hesitated. Then, slowly, they started dispersing. Carter wasted no time. He lunged forward, scooping up Emily in his arms. Her face was red and swollen, but she was alive. She's been stung. Hernandez said. We need to get her to the hospital, now. Maria sobbed as Carter placed Emily in her arms. Hold her close but be gentle. We have to move fast. The officers ran back through the woods, pushing through the dense foliage. When they finally reached the road, an ambulance was waiting. At Ashwood General Hospital, doctors worked quickly to treat Emily. The venom from the stings had caused an allergic reaction, but because she had been found in time, she would recover. Maria sat by her daughter's side, holding her tiny hand. Detective Carter entered the room, relief written all over his face. She's a fighter. Maria looked up, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. You saved her life. Carter nodded. We all did. As the sun set over Ashwood, the town let out a collective sigh of relief. Emily was safe. And though no one knew exactly how she had ended up in the woods, one thing was certain. She had survived against impossible odds. And that was nothing short of a miracle.